How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Mother Sponge. 5000. Today is December 26, 2021. So today is Boxing Day, and today we're going to take a look at several snowstorms that are going to move through the United States and bring potentially over a foot of snow throughout many areas in the Midwest as well as the West Coast, and maybe our next another major snowstorm that could impact the Midwest and potentially the Northeast next week. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin by taking a look at the current radar throughout the lower 48 at this time. And as you can see, pretty much the elephant in the room is this area of snow showers extending pretty much from Wisconsin all the way just north of the Canadian border. And we're seeing snow throughout Bismarck, as well as Fargo is getting involved in some snow. And for the most part, this snow is mostly light, a couple of moderate bands embedded within these snow showers. So it isn't an extremely powerful snowstorm, but it is enough to dump several inches of snow, and we're gonna continue to see moderate snowfall over a prolonged period. So that eventually does add up, and there's going to be some areas where you could experience well over a foot of snow in the Midwest, especially since it's going to be just a long duration event, and we're going to see the moderate snow showers continue for a lot of these areas, as there's going to be just enough of moisture flow just to the south of this trough that's located right around this location, and that's gonna really create just a lot of convection and a high amount of precipitation over this area. So this is definitely something we're gonna need to be watching over the next couple of hours, but we're also going to keep a close eye on the West Coast, which will have a continuous stream of atmospheric moisture moving along the West Coast, which will bring heavy snow in the higher elevations as a result of a lack of air density, of course, when you go higher in the elevation. So it's a lot cooler in the higher elevations. But what's also interesting is that Portland and Seattle could be in for not only some snowfall, but record breaking low temperatures, as we're going to see just a very strong northwesterly flow that's going to bring low temperatures down around the 20s, which is record breaking if you're around the Portland and Seattle area. And it's simply not something you see often in those areas, of course, since it's record breaking, but it's as a result of how warm the sea surface temperatures of the Pacific Ocean are. That pretty much warms up the temperature for you guys to prevent it from going down into the 20s. But it seems like the air temperature will be cold enough. We're going to see just enough of strong northwesterly flow right around Portland and Seattle to create record-breaking low temperatures, as well as accumulating snowfall in those areas. Even if you're in the other lower elevated areas in Washington and Oregon as well, you're going to get involved in some snow. So that's something you want to keep in mind throughout the West Coast and the Midwest, and even in the Northeast you could get involved in some snow showers in the very near future. So if I were to show you guys a GFS model's forecast over the next several hours, this is where we are right now. It's approximately around 8:30 p.m. Around 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at this time, and this is how the radar looks right around the northern Midwest, where we do see that elongated area of showers extending from North Dakota as far east as Wisconsin, and it's going to dump a heavy amount of snow over a very large area of the Midwest. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Minneapolis is involved, of course Fargo is involved, and we're going to see Green Bay get involved with some snow showers, as well as this low pressure system. While it isn't extremely intense, it's at least formidable enough to dump a decent amount of precipitation. But even if we were to look further eastward, you see that the snow extends further and further into the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic, where we're seeing Pennsylvania get involved in some snow, upstate New York get involved in some snow, as well as New Jersey. However, it doesn't seem like the snow will be anywhere near as heavy as, let's say, the area of snow showers that's close in proximity to a low pressure system, and it's as a result of just not enough unstable air this far southward, and it's also as a result of this low pressure moving more slowly than the moisture that's up ahead of it towards the east, and it's as a result of this low pressure being just north of the jet stream, which typically accelerates clouds and moisture well further eastward than it would than independent area of moisture would. So it seems like this area of moisture is going to be closer to the jet stream, which means that it's going to move a little bit too fast to pretty much go at the same pace as this low pressure system. So which is the main producer of all this convection, of course, because that's where the pressure is the lowest. So, and as a result, it's going to lose a lot of its moisture and steam as this moves further eastward, at least the eastern portion of this elongated low pressure system. So we're not going to see as much snow in the Northeast, but you could at least see some snow showers fall right around Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even as far east as New York City come Monday night. So that's something you want to be aware of, and something you might want to be excited about if you're into looking at seeing snow in your area in the Northeast. But if we were to continue to move forward, you see that we're going to see another low pressure system right behind this low pressure system we're talking about at this time that's currently impacting the Midwest. If you were to take a look at the current snow total forecast based on the GFS model and based on what has already fallen. So if we were to take a look at that, you see that there's going to be a large area of 6 to 12 inches extending from North Dakota, Minnesota, right around Wisconsin. So this is considered a major snowstorm for you guys. So if you're planning to go out in the northern Midwest, you might want to have some second considerations, because this snow will be extremely heavy and could potentially be extremely dangerous in the northern Midwest. And I want to keep you guys safe. I don't want you guys to potentially risk your life going out on treacherous or dangerous road conditions. So make sure to take high precaution if you're in the upper Midwest, because this certainly is considered a major snowstorm when we're talking about snowfall close to a foot of snow in some areas, such as maybe Minnesota or the eastern portion of North Dakota. You could get over 10 inches of snow, which is not out of the realm of possibilities. And if we were to take a look at the European model for the most part also agrees with the GFS model's snowfall forecast, where we do see still a large area of 6 to 12 inches, and it's pretty much maxing out right around the eastern portion of North Dakota, right around the border of North Dakota and Minnesota. And if you were to take a look further eastward, you see that we're seeing around 1 to 3 inches of snow throughout northern Pennsylvania and upstate New York. So at least expect some snowfall accumulation in the Northeast if you're in Pennsylvania or in the southern portion of upstate New York. But it shouldn't affect the more populated sectors of the Northeast, such as New York City or Philadelphia, as there just isn't going to be enough moisture by the time this eastern half of this trough moves into the Northeast for there to be any sort of accumulating snowfall in New York City and Philadelphia. Really, what could change that, it, of course, really all depends on how much moisture there is in the atmosphere and how exactly fast the eastern half of the storm moves. Because if it's a little slower, then there's more likely of a shot that it's able to retain a little bit of more moisture from the low pressure system that's just to the north of it for more hefty snowstorms to occur. But that still has yet to be seen, and the computer models don't believe that's going to happen, as a most likely scenario is that we're going to see 1 to 3 inches of snow. But we can't rule out the possibility that maybe this accumulating snowfall heads further eastward than anticipated, because of course weather changes very quickly. Even when you're less than 24 hours out with the forecast, there's still definitely could be drastic changes. It's less likely than, let's say, what the actual forecast is saying, but it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility. So you want to be aware of that in the Northeast. But yeah, pretty much throughout the northern Midwest, expect a major snowstorm, and make sure to stay off the roads as best as you could in the northern Midwest, because this is expected to be major. But let's take a look at the snowfall accumulation throughout the West Coast, and you see that this is impacting Oregon, where Oregon is experiencing right around 3 to 6 inches of snow. This is affecting Seattle as well, where you're experiencing maybe around 1 to 3 to potentially 3 to 6 inches of snow. And like I said, this is very rare for those locations, because it typically doesn't get that cold, especially when when the atmosphere is filled with moisture, for snow to occur. Because typically during the winter, when There's a high amount of relative humidity in Seattle and Portland. It's typically warm because, of course, during the winter, a low pressure typically means warmer conditions because we have the air molecules converging, which creates more work, and that work is converted into raising the temperature as pretty much a byproduct. So when we see a low pressure system during the winter in Seattle or Portland, it's typically a lot warmer. But to see the atmosphere not only filled with moisture but cold enough to support snow is very rare to see, especially since the Pacific Ocean's sea surface temperatures are much warmer than the actual air temperature, which pretty much moderates the temperatures all year round for Seattle and Portland from either getting too high or too low. But in this case, it seems like the air temperature is going to be just cold enough for snowfall accumulation to occur in the lower elevated areas, because you see, if we were to take a look at what the GFS model, the European model forecasts at this time, we're seeing snow impact Portland and Oregon. And when we typically see rain in the lower elevations and snow in the higher elevations of Seattle and Oregon. So that's definitely something we need to pay close attention to. And it won't only end with this low pressure system. If we were to continue to move forward, we see another low pressure system bringing more snow to Oregon as well as Seattle, which really shows the magnitude of how cold it is in the Pacific Northwest, because we're going to see just a strong northwesterly flow induced by this low pressure system and this ridge that's located right around British Columbia of Canada, and that's bringing that strong northwesterly flow right around the Pacific Northwest, cold enough to support for some snow in those areas. So you definitely need to prepare even in the lower elevations of Oregon as well as Washington, because you're gonna experience some accumulating snowfall, and you guys typically aren't as experienced with snowstorms, so you want to make sure to get those shovels ready, get salt for the roadways, because that for your driveways, because that's definitely going to be useful in this scenario, and even when you don't expect it in areas like that. So definitely prepare along the West Coast. But moving on, what's going to happen with the Midwest and the Northeast in the future? So if we were to continue to move forward, you see right behind this current low pressure system we're talking about in the northern Midwest, we have another low pressure system that's going to come pretty much on the heels of this low pressure system we're talking about right now, and it's going to bring a decent amount of snow throughout the northern portion of Arizona and New Mexico, especially in the higher elevation, so you need to pay close attention to that right around those areas. But you see, as the low pressure system moves eastward, there's going to be just enough of a northwesterly flow and a jet stream dip for a little bit of instability to occur right around the Gulf Coast states. And of course, when we see an unstable environment during the winter, right around the Gulf Coast states, it's pretty much asking for the atmosphere to pretty much absorb a lot of that very warm Gulf of Mexico water, and pretty much create a lot of lift in the atmosphere for that water vapor to rise up and become very buoyant, and that creates a lot more convection right around the southeast for not only potentially severe weather to occur, but snowstorms to occur as well. So that's definitely something we're going to pay close attention to. But at this point, it doesn't seem like the European model is too lenient on strengthening this low pressure system that much, as it does seem like it expects a jet stream dip that's as pronounced as let's say it would be for a powerful snowstorm. And but we still definitely need to pay close attention to this. Let me get my charger real fast. Okay, there it is. But yeah, it does seem like the European model doesn't expect that there's going to be just enough of a jet stream dip for any sort of major snowstorm or maybe any sort of extreme severe weather threat to occur. It still certainly could change. It really all depends on how powerful this low pressure system is. And at this point, it doesn't seem like it's going to be very powerful or powerful enough to see to experience a very strong northwesterly flow that could induce a very powerful or a very pronounced jet stream dip. So at this point, it doesn't seem like we're going to see um, enough of a jet stream dip or enough unstable air for a powerful snowstorm to occur with this low pressure system, but we still could experience some snowfall in southern Michigan and potentially in the southern portion of upstate New York. But this low pressure system won't be the main concern headed into later during the week. What becomes a little bit more of a concern is the low pressure system after it, because it's sort of going to be convergence of two pretty powerful low pressure systems that could lead to potentially our next extremely major snowstorm for the Midwest and potentially the Northeast. Because if I were to show you guys, we have a low pressure system, a 992 millibar low pressure system coming off the pretty much moving southeastward into the United States. And interestingly enough, we have another low pressure system that's going to be just south of California and just to the west of Baja California, Mexico. And we're going to see this low pressure system sort of have a little bit more convergence, have a little bit more lift associated with it. And we're going to see a little bit more thunderstorm activity associated with this low pressure system just to the east of where this low pressure system is located. And you see that this low pressure system I was talking to you guys about will move further southward, and that convergence of just a very almost tropical-esque low pressure system with this very Arctic low pressure system will create just a very high unstable environment throughout the Rocky Mountain ranges, and that could lead to our next snowstorm. You see these two low pressure systems converge, and we see quite a powerful and a very large low pressure trough form in the United States, bringing heavy snow throughout the Midwest as well as Wisconsin. We're seeing that snow extend to Michigan as well. And while the Northeast is rain in this scenario, you see on the backside, both of the computer models are expecting another low pressure system form that would bring the snow to the Northeast. That's even the coastal regions of the Northeast as well. There's still a lot of uncertainty regarding this forecast, so we need to. There's still a lot of questions that remain because of course we need to worry about how powerful this low pressure system will be. The GFS model wants to take a little bit more of a powerful low pressure system, while the European is a little bit taking a low pressure system a little bit weaker. And while we are 6 days out with the forecast, you could probably tell that these two computer models are very similar when it comes to the track of this and the exact look of this low pressure system, which you typically don't see that much with a forecast that's right around 6 days out. So that's definitely something interesting, and it really shows that there might be a little bit more confidence with this forecast since both of the main computer models are agreeing. And you see this brings major snow to a lot of the Midwest, and you see that the GFS model also expects there to be a little bit of a backside to this trough, and we could see a major snowstorm on the backside for the Northeast, where we do see heavy snow associated with it as well. So this is definitely something we need to keep in mind. What really will determine how much snow we receive is where that rain snow line will be. That still has yet to be seen. Really all depends on how much of an influence this ridge will be and how strong of a northwesterly flow we will see for a more pronounced jet stream to occur. For the rain snow line to be a little bit further southward, that will be a huge determinant in how much snow you experience. And the timing will matter too, because if the timing is just a little bit off, then we won't see this snowstorm develop into the storm that the computer models originally anticipated. So timing will be the issue, but I'd say for the Midwest and maybe even the Northeast, you want to pay close attention to this over the next several days, because this could happen as soon as 6 days from now for the Midwest, and maybe even a little bit earlier than that, maybe as soon as 5 days from now, which would pretty much begin the new year for you guys right around Saturday, January 1st, 2022, where we do see a pretty major snowstorm impacting places like Des Moines and Omaha, and potentially Minneapolis as well. And we could even see severe weather associated with this low pressure system on the southern side of this storm. So that's really something we need to keep in mind over the next couple of days. This would be major. This would dump over a foot of snow, but there's still a lot of uncertainty, so make sure to be aware of that in the Midwest. And in terms of my snowfall forecast, at least over the next 5 days. So this isn't including the snowstorm I was just talking to you guys about, because it becomes way too uncertain to forecast something 5 days out. But you see that I'm expecting 6 to 12 inches in the northern Midwest, so prepare for heavy snowfall, and 8 feet possible still in the higher elevations of California, 12 to 24 inches in the darker shaded purple. And in the pink, yeah, expect 6 to 12, 1 to 3 from majority of the Northeast, as there isn't going to be enough moisture for an extremely major snowstorm to occur, but at least prepare to shovel your driveways in those areas, and make sure to at least be aware of this next potential major Midwest snowstorm in the Midwest, because it could be coming as early as Saturday. So keep that in mind in the Midwest and the Northeast. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. And I hope you guys have a good day.